Eto na mga boss, kakapasok lang na balita. Grabe si Marcoleta, pinahiya. Sobrang napahiya sa sinabi ni Pbbm. Tumis-Tigo na si Ramon ang nayanig dito ang Senado. Base sa impormasyong kumakalat ngayon sa social media, ayaw tigilan ni Senador Rodante Marcoleta si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos matapos sisihin na siya ang may kasalanan sa pagtaas sa presyo ng gasolina. Pinapalabas niya nakikipagsabwatan si BBM sa may-ari ng mga gasolinahan, kaya gumitna na si Ramon ang sinabing hindi totoong sinabi ni Marcoleta na nananamantala si Pangulong Marcos. Handa siyang buksan ng kanilang libro para patunayang mataas ang bili nila sa petrolyo, kaya wag siyang naninisi, wag niyang isisi kay BBM ang gera. Pero ayon sa bilyonaryong si Ramon, ang handa niyang ibenta sa gobyerno ang 100% ng Petron, basta kay Pangulong Marcos daw ibebenta. Sa tingin niya kasi si BBM daw kasi ang mas magaling sa kanyang magpatakbo. Siguradong maraming matutulungan siya na kababayan. Pero hindi tumigil si Senador Rodante Marcoleta sa pangbabatikos kahit nagdeklara na si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ng State of National Emergency amid continuous surge in fuel prices. Kaya ito, sabay-sabay natin panoorin kung paano si Senador Rodante Marcoleta grabe pinahiya. Sobrang napahiya sa sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos. Tumis-Tigo na si Ramon ang nayinig dito ang Senado. Pero bago tayo magpatuloy, baka pwedeng i-click nyo muna ang like, share, comment, subscribe at i-hit nyo na rin ang notification bell kung gusto nyo ng mga ganitong klase ng video para laging updated kayo sa mga susunod pa nating ibabalita. Kaya tara, panoorin na natin to.
The President said 2 weeks ago we have about 50 to 60 na inventory. Okay. After 2 weeks, bakit po sumirit ng ganun?
The business model of Petron is very different. We import crude, we do not import finished products. Only on occasions where there is a sudden increase in the need for products, that is when we respond and import. So our crude deliveries come from the Middle East, and they come according to a laycan when they are supposed to load from the Middle East and shipped here. After about 21 days, they arrive and they are unloaded. So about weekly, we receive parcels of about 2 million barrels a day, or 2 million barrels per load. So that's the business model. Now, as far as pricing is concerned, whatever is the pricing in the market, we have to compete. Because our dealers will not be able to sell if their prices are above the prices of competition. And so we need to position ourselves to be able to sell the products. We are mindful of the requirements of our dealers so that they have a payback for whatever investment they had put into a service station. So that is the model.
I know it is medium term, pero kung magamit natin ang crudo na ine-extract natin sa Pilipinas, and I know sa Petron, the Petron refinery is tuned to the Middle East oil.
Sir,
So hopefully in the future,
Sir,
yes,
excuse me,
Senator.
you're trying to insinuate two alternatives, but you're willing to discuss it privately, right? Anong route po yung sinasabi ninyo? Hindi po yung Strait of Hormuz. Hindi rin ang Suez Canal, di ba? You're saying about the eastern route.
Yeah, there is one through the Baltic Basin and the Black Sea.
Yes. Are you referring to the strait between China and Korea, and then we'll go up to the Arctic Ocean?
No, sir. It's a different route. Malapit sa atin. So the two routes.
In the last hearing, you will recall, Mr. Chair, I was asking the DOE Secretary kung paano po nangyari 2 weeks ago before the war, the price of diesel is 55 pesos per liter. Bigla pong sumirit ng average of 125 liters after 2 weeks. The difference is 70 pesos, Mr. Chair, or an increase of 127. Ito po verifiable sa paano po. Can you show the second slide? Mr. Chair, ito po yung second slide. Yung nauna kanina, FOB price, kaya 570 per metric ton, US dollars. Ito po CIF, $640 per metric ton. So palagay mo, lagyan din natin ng shipping cost of $15 per metric ton. At saka yung MAPS, 1.71. The same computation, FOB landed price, 33 pesos and 39 centavos. So isama po natin yung binanggit ko pong mga add-on, local add-ons, 51.51, 48 pesos and 91 cents. So with SRP or passion price of 55 per liter, may 6 pesos pa pong tubo eh. So paano po nangyari? Kaya hindi ko po maintindihan. Nagpatulong na po kami sa DOJ, DOE nung isang hearing. Hindi naman po nila maipaliwanag. And they were asking for my data. Ayan na po yung mga data. Will you show the last? Mr. Chair, ito po yung last slide. CIA po ito. Dito po Petronas, Malaysia Refinery. The tanks are all in Singapore. O ito po makikita nyo, $680 per metric ton, CIF. Maski lagyan pa natin ang shipping cost na $15 at saka yung 1.71 na MAPS. Again, using the same computation translated into liters, 35 pesos and 42 centavos. Plus the local add-ons, 50 pesos 94. Passion price, 55. Meron pa pong tubong 4 pesos per liter. How do we explain this? Sinasabi po ninyo you were importing it from Dubai and you cannot penetrate it because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Bakit po yun ang reference natin? I'm talking about the prices now being quoted by the tanks in Singapore. Petronas and Rotterdam tanks in Singapore. This is tanks to vessel transaction. Ay, alam ko po, alam nyo ito. So, yung vessel po lalapit lang sa tanks. Kaya kung gusto nyo, CIF, yung tanks na lang lalapit sa inyo. But these are the prices. You can check the prices in Singapore. Nasa akin po eh. I check it with a friend in Singapore. It's very easy naman po eh. We have an embassy in Singapore, I suppose, na maaaring makapagtanong din siya to check this data. Inventory pa nyo, meron pa po tayo. During the last hearing, we have 45 days for diesel and 54 days for gasoline as admitted by DOE. So what are we talking about? Prices of Dubai or Argus benchmark analysis or even the MOPS? Why are we using indicators when there are basic prices even quoted by the tanks in Singapore? Bakit po yung reference natin is the MOPS or the Argus benchmark? Why so? These are hard facts, Mr. Chair. I'm showing it to you now. Saan po ninyo kinukuha yung langis ba? Dubai?
May I answer, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I am not familiar with the data that is being presented. But very clearly also, Dubai price now is 140. You can ask DOE. How can a product be cheaper than $140 per barrel?
Sir, because it is being referenced to the Argus benchmark, the Argus data. You're taking it from the maps. You talk about Dubai maps or Singapore Platts. Indicators po ito eh. This is the trading floor like WSM. Tinetrade po natin yon. Pero kung yung mga tangki na po sa Petronas ang nagsasabi and they're providing this data to us, paano po natin i-reconcile ito? I'm not questioning your indicators po, but I am only showing some figures, hard facts, that are supplied to me.
Your Honor, again, this is the first time that we've seen the numbers. We would love to check it as well. But
Yes, sir.
Yung Argus po kasi is another information provider. Para lang din maps yan eh. Pero dito kasi, plots ang ginagamit.
Yes, sir. Ano po yun eh? Worldwide po yun eh. Let's take the example of WESM sa electricity po. It's a trading floor. Ang WESM po, kapag ka walang bilateral contracts po yung supplier ng kuryente, pupunta sa WESM. Kung bilateral, may mga suppliers po, ang Meralco, okay lang po yun. Pupunta lahat sila sa WESM. So yung WESM, the trading floor, ito yung spot market, ididikta niya. Pero hindi lahat ng pagkakataon sa WESM po yun. Kumisan nga eh, sa WESM magtataka kayo eh, 32 pesos pa nga eh, per kilowatt hour, which is impossible. Sa Meralco, siguro 10, 11 pesos per kilowatt hour. Sa electric cooperative, siguro, medyo mataas ng konti, 14 to maybe 18 pesos per kilowatt hour. Yan sinasabi po ninyo is the trading floor. That's the spot market. But I'm telling you, these are the figures. You can check it. Kaya po binigay ko na po rin para makita po ninyong lahat. I can even give you a name of a company in Singapore. Para siya po yung makipag-deal. It will take only the government. Siguro mag-issue po kayong letter of intent. Baka mamaya po, sumagot na po yun eh.
I'll take advantage of the presence of our friends from the oil sector. And in this room, ang market share ng Petron, Shell, Jetty, and Chevron is about 48%. So kalahati ng petrolyo in terms of market share nandito sa kwartong to. And importante na marinig natin, narinig ko na kanina, no, that supply varies. Tama ho ba, Mr. Nepomuceno, sa Petron until May ang ating inventory?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And then for Shell is until April? Is that correct?
So it's April, May.
Until May also?
April, May.
April, May, okay. And then for Caltex is until April, if I heard it correctly earlier?
End of April.
End of April. And then for Jetty is the same, no? End of April.
Yes po.
Correct. So we're looking at the window between end of April to end of May. And then after that, we're into the abyss. Hindi na natin alam kung anong mangyayari. But I would like to understand from the oil companies, and you mentioned earlier that you've been trying to negotiate for supplies post-April, post-May. And what is the market scenario right now? No? I would assume that companies like yourselves have long-term contracts, long-term suppliers. But bakit ho hindi tayo nakaka-secure ngayon? I'd like to understand. No? Of course, alam natin yung nangyari sa Strait of Hormuz, alam natin nangyari sa Iran, but you are big companies. We're talking about Shell is a multinational company. No? Caltex is a multinational company. Petron has been there for 100 years. Tama po ba? Or more. No? So, bakit hindi tayo with your vast international network, bakit hindi tayo nakakakuha ng firm commitment post-April, post-May? Anyone can answer.
I'll briefly explain the business model of Petron. As I said, we refine crude. When the refinery was built, it was configured for Middle East crude because that is the area that had the most number of exportable crudes. And as far as distances are concerned, this is the very sustainable area and also very friendly since the past owners also of Petron was Saudi Aramco. Now, we have a situation that they have been affected. The Strait of Hormuz, which has their biggest port operations, have been affected. They cannot allow, or they do not have vessels coming in and going out. But fortunately for Saudi Aramco, they have another port that crosses the land, and this is in the area of Yambu. But that is scaled about 50% of the capacity of the Ras Tanura ports. So that is the only amount that can really be the source of your supply. Now, there are other crudes that you may be able to use, but it depends on the processability. Every crude that you try to use, you run the refinery and try to find out whether how much of it you can blend. Why? Because there are impurities like mercury, which is predominant in the Asia region. There is very high acid, which we call total acid number, TAN. There is also chlorides. So there are a lot of impurities that when you try now to select, you have to try to run it and find out whether you can use the crude at a particular processability rate. Now, given the situation where Middle East does not have the capability now, we have been looking for crudes. We have been looking as well for products because at the onset, when this happened, 4 million barrels were absent for delivery. So that is practically a month's requirement. So we had to source from elsewhere. And probably everybody knows already well where we got our crude. And this was cleared by agencies of our government.
Close where that came from? I think that this, kung clear naman ng government yan, and
It was Russian crude.
yeah, and it's all over the news that the U.S. lifted the sanctions so that
Well,
countries can go.
the
can
U.S. lifted the sanction, but that is only up to April 11.
Go. Correct. I know.
So, that was a deal where we sought the government's help.
The point I'm
And-
trying
and
to,
to me-
Mr. Pomoceno, the point
Yes.
I'm trying to make, no, is with your vast network, how come that the oil companies cannot get supply from non-traditional sources? But I understand it that you got supply from a non-traditional source, meaning outside of the Middle East. But I'm trying to understand, bakit hindi tayo makakuha sa Latin America, sa United States, sa Canada? No?
It depends on the crude.
Or
When I
even
also talk about Middle East crudes, we know that it is more like sour and heavy. Okay. The configuration of the refinery was built so that it could handle the fluid flow. Let me explain a little bit on the technical side. If you are pumping water, you have a very small pump. If you are pumping a slurry or you're pumping heavy viscous material, you have to build a bigger pump. And so in the whole structure of what is the configuration of a refinery, it is supposed to handle that. So blends also, if you talk about light crudes, the output will be gasoline. If you talk about mid-heavy or lighter crudes, light crudes, medium heavy, they will produce diesel. And when we configured the refinery after the upgrade that we did, we looked at the market, and the market was diesel. And so that is how it is configured, and that is why Middle East is a staple. And in most countries, they look at the same. what is the product that they would like. Now, there is a scenario where perhaps just to, I do not want to debunk the claims, no? But you have a situation in the Middle East where one of the refineries, the bigger refineries, which was 900,000 barrels a day, was damaged. That crude supplies Europe. That refinery supplies Europe. You have the Qatar South Pars, North Pars, that was also damaged, LNG. So there is already a deficit as far as Europe is concerned. So there is going to be an arbitrage coming from wherever source of diesel that will have to go to Europe. And so here you are seeing a situation where the premiums that are being asked are exorbitant, uncharted, never been experienced. We have never seen a crude priced at $160 per barrel. You put the premium of $40 on diesel now, that gives you about $200 already. The freight cost has definitely gone up, so everything has gone up. Insurance, if you cannot insure the vessel will not go to the Middle East. Much less, even the Yanbu area, which is the Red Sea, because it is Saudi Arabia is at its south part of the country has Yemen, which has the Houthis. So there are geopolitical events that are happening that are very difficult to analyze. Very difficult. These geopolitical events are getting to be difficult really to... And I mentioned the Pars, the South Pars and the North Pars of Qatar. These are heating LNG gas, mainly for power and heating. If that is not present, the alternative is diesel. And that is why you are seeing diesel at these very high prices. So these are some of the things that are happening. And mind you, sir, it is a very complex business. It is not very easy to explain. There is a need for understanding crude supply balancing. And that is what is happening now. What countries can add more to what has been inadequate? The deficit of the Strait of Hormuz is 20 million. The demand is about 100 million. The prices were good because there was 3 million barrels in excess. But you now had a situation, some reports are saying that 10 million barrels equivalent of ports and storage tanks that have been damaged. So that will leave you at a situation where that 20 million is now 10 million, and most of that goes to Asia is going to be an issue.
The point I'm trying to make is because I heard from the oil sector, the oil companies, repeatedly earlier to already trigger or explore government-to-government mechanisms. No? I heard that from the different oil companies. What are the government-to-government mechanisms that you think we should already undertake ASAP? Kasi ang punto ko, ano yung pwedeng gawin ng gobyerno o ano yung hindi magawa ng private companies na kaya gawin ng gobyerno in order to extend the supply beyond May? No? I repeatedly heard you earlier to undertake government to G2G transactions. Ano yung mga G2G transactions?
There are governments that have strategic petroleum reserves. They can operate. They may be willing to have their extra capacity or products to be available. So, if that is the case, maybe perhaps there could be a G2G. So, in this case, I think the successful discussion with Japan, since they have SPRs, would be one G2G country that we can take on. You have another country that has a very big SPR, but have declared that they will not export, and that is China. Now, we say G2G because we do not know how to approach. And whether government is willing to approach. So that's why we mention G2G. Now, as far as the area is concerned in Asia, they are all net importers. So,
And this is where our diplomatic relationships will play a role. I think we have to use all of our relationship building at this point. We have invested in that, and that should be triggered and maximized at this point of this crisis. Ms. Laurelie, do you have a comment? You also mentioned G2G, and we're again, this is in aid of getting solutions, and the more solutions that we can put on the table, the better. Whether that will be successful or not, of course, it's another discussion, but we want to lay it down. The committee is looking for solutions, especially coming from practitioners and companies.
Yeah, so what I was referring to earlier, so when it comes to procurement, then we can do it ourselves. But indeed, some countries have already declared an export ban. And in doing so, they're really disallowing even contracted molecules to exit the country. In some cases, we are hearing rumors where some of the ministers are indicating a future or upcoming ban, for example. So that is also the type of G2G to already have that discussion, so that whatever we have procured, whether short-term or long-term contracts, as you mentioned, they continue to be honored by the because what will happen is that the seller declares force majeure, citing the reason that they're no longer able to supply because of the export ban declared by the government.
To go around that, the government negotiation can come in.
Correct, because some countries put in a list to say, okay, we do an export ban, but we're willing to consider exceptions to certain countries if the cargo is going to certain countries.
Yes, Senator Marcoleta.
Just a few questions, Madam. Everybody else in the oil industry is pinpointing the Strait of Hormuz as the chief villain. But you said that only 20% of the oil supply is coming through that route, the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. What about the Suez Canal, Madam? Are you assuming that it is closed?
So right now, the Suez Canal is not closed. So
Yes.
you look at three waterways.
No, I'm only asking you if the Suez Canal is closed also.
It is not closed.
It is not, of
Yeah.
course. And you know that the oil of Russia and probably Kazakhstan are being processed by Rotterdam. You know about that?
It is a global business.
Yes,
I will have
madam.
to check
But
that.
what I'm saying is Suez Canal is open. America is not affected by the Strait of Hormuz. Okay.
From a pricing
Petronas of
perspective,
Malaysia
it
is not
impacts the
affected
entire
by
world.
the Suez. Petronas of Malaysia is not affected by the Strait of Hormuz. Am I correct?
Everyone is affected by the closure of the Strait
Everyone.
of Hormuz.
Why everyone? I have shown to you
Sir, because
the
of the
data.
pricing, which is global.
that is always the argument. You're always returning back to the argument of a replacement cost, of Argus, of maps, and the plots. But what about the data I have just shown a few minutes ago?
I think as mentioned by the other members, we have not seen that data, and we would be happy to look at it. Now, if you then look at market dynamics,
As we speak, you
each-
can already check this, madam.
we will have a look at it, sir. I would be happy to have a look at it.
Of course, of
yeah.
course. And this committee awaits for confirmation on your side,
Yes.
if these data are correct or not.
Yes.
That's the
Now,
only issue.
I hear you.
Because this data, as you might have noted, they do not even, they even included the VAT and the excise tax and even the biofuel. Earlier, even our committees also took upon ourselves of legislating, let's say suspending the collection of VAT or even the excise tax, and even suspending or replacing our CME with PME, which is of course will be affecting our coconut industry. But in this data that I have just presented, we will preserve all this. That's why it is very important for you to please check on this data first of all, before we even continue discussing your apprehensions and your world data and the trending and the trading floor and the spot market and blah, blah, blah.
Ngayon, kayo bilang Pilipino, ano ang masasabi nyo at reaksyon sa balitang ito? Mag-iwan kayo ng komento sa ibaba at atin niyang babasahin isa-isa.